All right, let's take this now to my picture-perfect party panel. Check out that alliteration from Fox News Headlines 24/7. Reporter Carly Shimkus is here, along with the columnist for The Daily Beast and The Week, and the producer of the Fifth Column podcast. It's Anthony Fisher, and host of You're Welcome, and author of a fantastic book, Dear Reader, Get It Now, Michael Malice. Welcome, everyone.
Hey.
So happy to be here. So happy to see you. So where does Jim Comey go from here?
I mean, to paraphrase Margaret Thatcher, being loyal is like being a lady. If you have to tell people you are, you aren't. So for him to call his book A Higher Loyalty, when he was fired on his ass on when he was giving a speech, is ridiculous. He didn't quit out of integrity. And the idea that this guy who's this, grotesque Sasquatch is going to run for office, the least popular member of the Addams family was Lurch. No one likes him. From the Democrats' point of view, he burned the bridge with Hillary Clinton unnecessarily. And from the Republicans' point of view, you could disagree with the president, but to throw him under the bus in such salacious, gratuitous ways, that's not going to win you any favors either. He's just a modern-day Evan McMullen, just stretched out.
It was gratuitous, and I guess I was waiting for something more substantial than my feelings were hurt, or I have an ill opinion of him because of my superficial summation of his appearance. You would think that someone with a background as a deputy attorney general and the director of the FBI would have a little bit more data to draw from.
Yeah, I mean, he was very emotional about this, and they really sold it as we got 5 hours of interview footage with James Comey. We're going to try to squeeze all the pertinent stuff into just 1 hour. And like you said, it was boring. There wasn't much there. It was, James Comey psychoanalyzing the president. I totally buy his characterizations of his personal interactions with the president. I don't know that those matter, though. They certainly aren't prosecutable.
Yeah.
And the idea that...
And he admitted that.
Yeah.
I mean, he even said, like, the president, essentially, paraphrasing him, he said the president has committed no crimes and that he can't be impeached and that he's not unfit for office, meaning he hasn't met that threshold, a threshold that he knows well.
Yeah. So at one point, you expect Stephanopoulos to go, why are we here?
Yeah. Yeah, George has enough to do.
Yeah. 5 hours is an awful long time.
Really is.
I do think that we learned a lot about James Comey through this whole thing, and not just that his wife was a Clinton supporter and that he drank wine out of a paper cup after he was fired, but also that he needs to learn how to stick up for himself. He is the director of the FBI. If he has an issue, if he's uncomfortable with Loretta Lynch calling the investigation a matter, raise your hand and say something. If he's uncomfortable with talking to the president
and that
alone,
I actually believe. I believe Loretta Lynch's defense there.
I do too.
I don't believe that she was free from politics, and we're going to get to that a little bit later in the show. I'm going to talk to Chris Bedford and get some reaction on Comey's interview, and I'm going to talk to you guys as well about legalizing drugs.
Oh,
all right. So I don't know who's holding. We'll find out. First up, I'm going to talk about the president's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. He was in federal court in New York City today as part of a grand jury investigation into his personal conduct and business dealings. Yesterday, in a letter to the judge, a separate lawyer for the president asked to review any documents related to the president that were seized in that FBI raid. Today, the judge denied a request from Cohen's attorneys to do the same thing and to prevent the investigators from seeing the documents first. Stormy Daniels, the porn star who Cohen allegedly paid $130,000 to keep quiet about an affair with Trump. Well, of course, she was in the courtroom. Her lawyer, Michael Avenatti, explained why.
We wanted to ensure that the integrity of the documents was maintained, and we wanted to lend her voice towards making sure that the American people learned the truth. The president trusted Mr. Cohen as his fixer for years. He trusted him with his innermost secrets, and I think that the chickens are about to come home to roost.
That is a filthy euphemism. Legal analysts say this case could be more damaging to the president than the special counsel. So should he be worried, or is this a sideshow? I'm going to ask you that very question.
I think this is very, very bad, and it's a very bad precedent. Imagine if this was just the president or anyone else talking to their doctor and talking about having some kind of problems here or there, and if that becomes public in any capacity, it's embarrassing, it's terribly humiliating, and there has to be a capacity for anyone, especially people who are in higher office who are going to get hit from the other side, to be able to speak freely and openly and to brainstorm and things like that. So no matter what comes out of this, this is going to be a very big breach of something that is usually held sacred in American American jurisprudence.
And there has to be something that's sacred. There have to be conversations that are legally protected. Just saying, well, that doesn't apply to you because we don't like you, so we're going to go ahead and take from you whatever we want to prove our case. That's not supposed to happen in America. That happens in places like Soviet Russia.
Well, I mean, I agree that there should be attorney-client privilege. There should be due process, even for the unpopular, even for the wretchedly powerfully unpopular. But if this all seems to stem from campaign finance laws, which I think are generally absurd. And if there was an illegal campaign finance contribution that was reimbursed by the president himself, that is a prosecutable action.
That is prosecutable, but do you go in and get those documents at gunpoint? That's what the FBI is. That's what an FBI raid is. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if they have their guns drawn. That is coercion and force.
Well, they better come up with something. Otherwise, there really is. If they don't demonstrate a good reason for this raid, then all they have shown is that they were on a fishing expedition and abusing their power.
Yeah, and maybe Michael Cohen is filthy and dirty. Maybe he's the Paul Manafort of personal lawyers. But, and I know a part of the claim of prosecutors now is he wasn't representing a lot of people, therefore he wasn't really a lawyer. But he was really a lawyer. Even if he only had a few clients, that doesn't matter.
No, yeah, absolutely. The number of clients you have does not matter, whether you're a lawyer or not, or whether attorney-client privilege is protected for you. I can understand, though, like you're saying, why Trump supporters do see this as an example of a witch hunt. Got nothing going on in the Russia investigation. Let's check down to his lawyer. Many people have said this, and I'm going to be one of them. I do not care about the president's sex life. I don't think that middle America cares about the president's sex life. People that need jobs certainly don't either. So I can understand, hey, investigate this guy. Apparently that there might be something criminal going on, and that's why they went into his office and raided his documents. That better be the case, or else a lot of people in the FBI are going to have to answer a lot of serious questions.
Michael?
Well, I regard his sex life as aspirational, so I do care about it a little bit.
You care about it in a different way. Yeah. You reserve your judgment for
You're not offended by it.
I'm not offended.
You aspire. Got it.
Okay.
But this is one of those things like, you knew what you were getting into.
Absolutely.
Like, everyone knew what they were getting into with both of these people. I would say this is the most thoroughly vetted presidential election. There was so much baggage. They could have opened a Samsonite warehouse with these two candidates.
But the new information, if true, is that Stormy Daniels was kind of strong-armed by Michael Cohen associates. If there is proof of that, and they suspect that they would be able to find that proof in these documents, then it was worth it. If short of that, probably not.
All right, well, we'll see. You know, there are a lot of strong arms with those Pilates classes nowadays. That reformer is really changing lives and bottoms. The party panel is going to return a little bit. Meanwhile, up in good old Canada, America's top hat. A group of lawmakers want the country to legalize a lot more than weed. They want to decriminalize all illegal drugs. The Prime Minister's Liberal Party preparing to debate a resolution on that topic during the National Convention this week. The push comes as the opioid epidemic continues to rock that country as well as ours. According to Canada's public health agency, around 4,000 people died last year from opioids. That's more than the number that died in motor vehicle accidents and homicides combined. Canada already set to become the first of the world's 7 largest advanced economies to legalize marijuana consumption this summer. So is this an idea the U.S. government should follow? Let me bring back the party panel. Carly Shimkus, Anthony Fisher, and Michael Malice. Carly, I will start with you. Is this a good idea for Canada, and should we follow suit?
No.
Why?
I feel lame saying that because, I don't know, I feel like you might think that it is a good idea. But no, I don't think it's a good idea because if the government greenlights drugs, it makes it seem like they think it's an okay thing to do, and that sets a bad example for kids.
There's a lot of things that are not criminalized in this country that aren't tacitly endorsed by the government as good things to do. Porn is not illegal, but porn, nobody says that porn should be.
But if
great thing to do. Back, Fisher.
I mean, did you see Stormy Daniels is succeeding? So I guess you're right.
Well, there's people in human cages right now for taking substances that only harm themselves.
Did I not? I knew that this was going to happen.
No, this is. I'm not saying that you're lame for saying this, which is what you thought I would say, or one of us would say, but there are people suffering, the people that are in prison right now for doing things that are not harming anyone else, and they could be treated as in a public health capacity rather than being treated as criminals.
And I think that there are some drugs, marijuana being one of them, that you could make a case for legalizing. But if we're talking about opioids and hardcore drugs,
if they introduced alcohol today, do you think the FDA would approve it?
Say that again, I'm
If
sorry.
they introduced alcohol today, do you think the FDA would approve it?
You know, I don't know. That's
Do you know how many people
revisionist
die from? Do
history.
you know how many people die from alcohol? Do you know how much disease there is from alcohol? How much violence there is from alcohol? How much mental illness
You
there
know
is from
what?
alcohol?
But you know, there was a case, and this is a very, very extreme case, and I'm just spitballing here, where a man ate some sort of drug, some sort of bath salt, and he ate.
You're not
No,
really gonna
that's
do this, are
actually
you?
not true.
You're not really gonna do the bath salts.
Please don't go into the bath salt story.
Well,
that is an urban myth.
Everybody
he was
Google
not,
bath salts.
Please do not,
Right.
do not
But
propagate that because
a whole
that
lot
is
of
not
bad
true.
happens. A whole lot of bad happens on drugs,
bad
and
things.
I
You know,
don't
bad
think that they
things
should be
happen
legalized.
with people who get off of their antipsychotic medication. The worst things happen.
But if you
with
have
those
one
people.
drink, then you can be okay. If you take
Malice,
heroin one time,
all right. Yeah,
you're going
that's-
down a dark path.
That's not necessarily true. Michael, please.
I think what Carly doesn't understand is a lot of people who are dying because these opioids aren't dying because they're taking too many doses. They're taking a drug that they don't know what it is and end up having deadly consequences. So if it were legal, then you would reduce the number of deaths, and that's the first most important thing.
If you don't know what you're putting in your body, you have a much higher probability, not possibility, but probability that you're going to die from that.
And I'll
It
just
is
say,
actually,
it
it is immoral.
Let me just say one more thing. I don't think people take drugs whether or not the government approves of it, one way or another.
Right, but if the government is saying, sure, fine, this can be legal.
No, they said
then it
decriminalized.
could-
Big difference between legalized and decriminalized.
Yeah, that's not the same thing as condoning.
Okay, all right. Well,
Decriminalized means
I
you
just
don't
think
go to prison
you're
for it.
going down a dark path if we do that.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
our path is paved in charcoal. Thank you so much, Michael, Anthony, and Carly. Agree to disagree. Still lots of love in the air. Coming up.